Welcome to Ringside Reflection. I'm Tyler DeLuca. He's Diego Hernandez, and we are here to reflect on the week of wrestling. And it's a special episode today. It's a pay-per-view day. We are recording this just hours before Money in the Bank, so we have your entire week recap plus predictions looking ahead to the pay-per-view tonight. But first, it was a huge Monday Night Raw, the 20th anniversary of John Cena. Diego, what were the thoughts? I know, first off, is John Cena the GOAT?
Oh, he's my GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
I have video of me watching this man when he was still in like his little booty shorts.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was the first wrestler I know for a fact. I remember ever watching wrestling. First match I know that I actually know move for move was his one night stand pause with RVD for the championship.
Yeah.
So I mean that's my GOAT hands down when it comes to wrestling history. Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah,
definitely. But I loved how they handled his whole 20th anniversary. Mm-hmm. They didn't really use him much before his promo, which I really liked because they had Seth coming up to him, being WWE's Joker, just kind of doing his menacing things. This man laughed John Cena's theme song before immediately starting the conversation that he broke his nose.
Yeah, I was there that night. I was there that night.
Oh, yeah. And then you had Theory being the annoying little crap that he is.
Yeah. He's like the annoying little brother of WWE
of
right
Vince
now,
McMahon.
And it's perfect.
Yeah. And I'm not a fan of it. I just hate cringiness to that degree. This man, I'd love the selfie thing. Because the last 2 weeks, they've had Cena walk away from him and Bobby Lashley appearing behind him, scaring the hell out. Yeah, and spearing him. That was amazing. I like when it is utilized to that degree. I'm not that big of a fan of Theory in general.
Right.
I just always thought he was just very cringy, just very Chad-like. But that's just me. I do like all the little video montages that they brought in from people that are like in AEW.
Yeah, that was a shock, but it was cool.
I was kind of surprised to find out that Mark Henry's video wasn't used.
Apparently, I forget who said it on Twitter. Apparently, it was because he mentioned AEW. He said, like, everyone at WWE respects you, everyone at AEW respects you type thing. So I think I can't remember who tweeted it out, but I think someone.
So you're telling me that they can make two Elias and Ezekiel pop up on the same video, but they can't edit out an AEW mention?
Listen, that's two people. What do you mean edit out?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, come on now. Can't fit.
No, yeah.
I agree though. I like how he was used. I think that's the perfect way to sprinkle him in, is having him interact with both people that he's worked with in the past, but also people that have come since then. Like the Street Profits segment, I liked a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think anything with the Street Profits is pretty much amazing. I mean, that's there. I rock with them heavy. But yeah, I think that everything that they did with Cena was pretty much exactly, how I'd want him to be used. There's no reason he doesn't need to come and put down any talent. He can be lifted up and lift up others with them and make it enjoyable. The complaint that everyone had, though, was no angle was set up at all. Obviously, everyone kind of just assumed that him and Theory were just going to come and have a war of words and set up for SummerSlam. But that didn't happen. What'd you kind of think of that?
So I don't think they're going to use him at SummerSlam. I think that they're probably going to save him for WrestleMania. Just because, I doubt that they'll bring Cena in 2 years in a row at SummerSlam to have him lose twice. I think they want to build up Theory a little bit more just because the crowd isn't getting that much over on him. They hate him, which is what every heel wants. But I don't think he's to that degree where they can have Cena put him over. And that's why I don't think he didn't mention SummerSlam at all in his promo.
Right.
He just kind of thanked the crowd for 10 minutes. Right.
Which is cool. And I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I think...
I enjoy every Cena speech.
Right.
Whatsoever. His man is the GOAT.
That's the GOAT.
That's the GOAT at promos.
That's the GOAT.
Talking mess, Jericho and The Rock are right there with them. But in just terms of like storytelling through his emotion and everything, Cena's just in his own class.
Yeah.
Him and Triple H have that connection with the crowd that I don't think can be matched. But in terms of SummerSlam, the only way now I can see that he is fit into an angle with Theory at this point is if he interferes against tonight at Money in the Bank again when Theory fights Bobby Lashley. Costs him the title. That way, if they want to put Theory over on Cena, Theory, or if they want Cena to be Theory first,
Mm-hmm.
they won't necessarily have to take the title off of him already.
Right.
Yeah, that's the only way I kind of see him kind of fitting into the SummerSlam picture at this point.
Right. And honestly, I don't think that Cena needs to win. I don't think. I mean, like, he's at a point now where he's, I mean, obviously solidified as, I mean, one of the best to ever do it. So if he loses to Theory and he comes back, no one's gonna be unexcited to see John Cena just because he lost to Theory. You know what I mean? So I understand what you're saying about how, you know, back to back, but I think at this point, I don't think he cares, and I don't think WWE needs to care if they're really protecting Cena at this point, because he's already so solidified.
Yeah, and I get where you're coming from with that, but in terms of like the fans just coming to see Cena every single time, I also don't think that they're gonna want to know every single time Cena comes back. It's just gonna be to lose again.
But I don't think that's the case, because for the longest time it's always been you're showing up to see Cena win.
Yeah.
So I think that's very hard to uningrain, where it's still gonna be a shock if Cena loses every time he comes back.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's this is completely biased because I said it before. I love Cena. I hate to see the man lose. I think they did it right when they did it with Roman.
Mm.
He showed up for a month and a half, winning every single promo he had against Roman, just to have him lose at SummerSlam in a great match.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice.
Mm-hmm.
This time around, if they're to build something with Theory, where he's just not showing up, maybe he'll be on an Undertaker type schedule, and it's the whole beef is over Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something I want to see.
I agree with that.
I don't want to see him lose to someone who's just a social media
like feud, like that's
rival. Yes,
feud.
right.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to see that.
Right.
If Theory is gonna beat Cena, he has to earn it all the way up until that point. He has to win the crowd over. He has to win Cena over in the build-up, and he hasn't done either of those.
So if not, so obviously you don't see him too high on Theory. You don't see.
I see the potential.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely see the potential. I just don't think he's anywhere near the level to even be put in the ring with Cena.
But don't
right
you think
now.
Cena's the one to help lift people up?
Definitely to a certain degree.
I
Because Theory just came up from NXT not even a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make the case Kevin Owens was in NXT when he got put over with Cena. But
and I think he took Seth Rollins to another level as well.
Definitely. But Seth Rollins was already champion.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But I still think there's still tiers that have
everyone that gets put with Cena gets to take it to another level.
Mm-hmm.
But look at all those guys' last, like I said, like the Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, when they're coming up what their feud before Cena was.
Mm-hmm.
Theory 7 months ago was with Johnny Gargano in the cringiest faction to ever be in NXT. Now he's in a feud where Bobby Lashley's much more over than him. Mainly because people want to see Lashley and Reigns at this point. They don't want to see Theory and Lashley. They want Lashley in the title picture.
Right.
Which is crazy because once he gets in the title picture, they start to not like him again.
Right.
But no, it's just...
Wrestling fans are being undecisive? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Who could have seen this coming?
Definitely.
Who could have seen this coming?
No, but I think that they should build Theory up a little bit more to where he is in the where they can make the crowd believe like, oh, this guy can beat Cena. And they'll probably do that with him beating Lashley or something like that. But even then, Lashley hasn't done anything since his last title.
Right.
So it's like, have him beat someone, have him on a continuous hot streak. Because I wouldn't believe that a guy that lost to Pat McAfee in April beats John Cena less than 4 months later.
Yeah, I also think that. I love Pat.
Yeah, I love Pat
Pat's
too.
The best,
yeah.
But yeah, I also agree that.
In a sense, that is disrespectful to Cena's legacy. You know, because it's like, okay, this guy just beat an ex-football... This guy just lost to an ex-NFL player and just be the greatest of all time.
No, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's my problem with Theory.
So obviously not Theory. Who is a realistic opponent? Like if you're booking someone against Cena for SummerSlam, that's not Theory. Who would it be?
Riddle
Riddle
or Montez Ford.
Montez Ford. Everyone, I love Montez.
Yeah, Riddle or Montez Ford. Riddle because it'd just be awesome to see Cena, the epitome of health and just monstrosity, to fight a stoner.
Yeah, I respect it.
Yeah.
I respect it.
Yeah, so it's just that's my thing. And Riddle's just he's been doing great. His promos have been amazing since he worked with Randy, and that could also be an angle too, you know, because his mentor is Randy Orton. He's out on the sideline. Cena's obviously had the most rematches in WWE history with Randy Orton. They could connect that a little better than they can with him in Theory, other than Theory just being a carbon copy of Cena in 2002, even down to the attire. That's my take. I think Riddle would make a much better fit in this situation. But obviously, they want to build Riddle back to, at some point, to the title again.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I think Cena should be used for. He should be used as that stepping stool to a championship opportunity.
Yeah. No, I respect that. I think Riddle will be great. I mean, Montez will be fantastic as well. But I don't know if they're going to split them up anytime soon. As much as I think he could and should be a singles guy in that level.
And if you keep up with him, he's just looking like a main event star now. He has just consistently gotten bigger. Huge. This man he grew 2 heads on his biceps in the last 3 months. Right. This is just crazy.
Right. So I think them two are great options. I think Seth is always fantastic. I mean, there's literally I think Seth is one of the best in the world right now. Any company, anything, just across the board, in ring, out of the ring, everything he's doing, everything he touches turns to gold. Kevin Owens as well would be another great one. Another one that just 2 guys that haven't held a title in so long yet remain to be must-see television every time that they're on. And
I think out of those two, Kevin deserves it more. Seth is in a weird spot where he's right now he's feuding with everybody, and one of those people is still Roman Reigns, whether people know it or not, because he lost by DQ to Roman,
and he's brought it up a couple times.
Yeah, he's brought it up. He got in Roman's head. He's probably in line to win the Money in the Bank today. At the end of the day, he most likely is. So. He's been getting that push, but that's because he's the best heel in WWE right now.
Oh, 100%.
This man is just
100%.
a menace. Kevin Owens, I just feel bad. He makes everything a work of gold.
Everything is fantastic.
This man put Ezekiel over. But I think he definitely deserves it. He had one of the best runs in the new era of WWE. I think he deserves another shot, other than just getting squashed by Roman every single time he got put up there. Getting ran over by golf carts and whatnot.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So let's kind of shift over. Let's move forward in the week. Blood and Guts was on Wednesday, following a fantastic Forbidden Door pay-per-view. I love the pay-per-view front to back. I thought it was amazing. Thoughts on the Blood and Guts match? What were your kind of thoughts on it?
Let's face it, it was War Games. Every War Games is just a fantastic match, and that's exactly what Blood and Guts was, with the little AEW finesse on there with actual blood in the match, crazy spots, and just the indie wrestlers doing their things. My favorite thing about it is that they're still kind of building off of that feud between Kingston and Claudio.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's just like that's something that's been building for a while.
Like a decade.
Since Cesaro was barely starting in WWE. Ultimately, I like that they're starting to build more and more on that. They're ultimately gonna clash heads, and then they'll probably turn into a tag team. If I'm being completely honest, Kingston might join the Blackpool Combat Club.
I'd love it. I'd love it. I think Blackpool Combat Club is one of the best things going right now, and I like the way that they didn't. I think the most obvious choice was just to have them come to blows in the match, just have a complete disagreement there. But I'm glad that they're going with the slow burn, because they could have very easily just pulled the trigger on it now. And I don't think anyone would have been upset by that by any means, because I think it's an easy build. It's a very natural, organic story, but it makes it where you're able to, like I said, tell that longer story, because the story's already been told for so long now, so you kind of get to keep that going. But yeah, my thoughts on the match, I was a little lower on it than you were, I think, because the one thing that really kind of threw me off was the spots on top of the cage and everything. I loved all the spots. I thought that they were fantastic. The one thing that kind of tripped me out, though, was there was just nothing going on in the ring at all. Like, everyone was just, like, laid out or whatever, which kind of tripped me out. It kind of, because there was times where I found myself asking what is going on in the ring, and that question was just never answered. As much as I loved the stuff on top, I feel like there was a lot of times where they were just kind of, like, understandably, like, selling and laying around on top, where we could have gone back into the ring and kind of kept the pace of the action going throughout it. Or
I knew the in-ring stuff was just kind of go downhill, and they were just going to focus on the outdoor stuff. was when Kingston came in with the kendo stick and just kind of literally just like if he was
swallowing
flies.
Oh, it was amazing though.
It was like
it was amazing.
That's so stupid, but I can see
it. It's the most Kingston thing he could have done.
Yes, it's definitely like that. I would believe that a little flick from Kingston
Right.
is gonna hurt.
Right.
And Guevara's just a go at selling too, so that helped that out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and the spot up the top of the cage, I mean,
that would have been so much better if they didn't reference it not 10 seconds before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They took a lot away from that moment.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it was coming.
Right.
We knew it was gonna come,
right.
especially when we seen Sammy Guevara up there.
Right.
We knew there was gonna be someone's falling.
Someone's throwing him off.
I don't like that. I think it was Jim Ross that kind of he was alluded to it with the Mankind reference.
Right.
That took away from it.
And I also feel like they really kind of just like it happened. We stood there for like 5 seconds. They're like, all right, keep it moving. Like no more. Like I don't think after the initial like shock and awe of the moment, I don't think we ever went back and mentioned Sammy. Once throughout the rest of the match.
Well, he was dead.
Right.
By all kayfabe standards, he was dead.
Right. So, but I think at that point you can show. That's what, almost kind of back into the idea of like showing what's going on in the ring. Like, if everyone's dead, then show that. Let us know that it's only like all we have left is whoever is on top of this cage. Like, this is who's going to decide the winner of this match. And like I said, it was such a big moment that I feel like it happened really quick, and then we just went back up to the top of the cage.
And I think that's what the black and gold NXT did so much better in this match situation, because every time there was a winner in that War Games match, they would show the carnage of it. Blood and Guts didn't do that. It was a great match, but it would be nice to see.
By no means saying it's a bad match at all.
No, it was a good match.
It was very
very entertaining. Yeah, I like the way it ended. Going back to the Kingston and Claudio thing, I like the way it ended. I'm getting to the Jericho fatigue stage though. Oh. If I'm being honest, in terms of just him being there to be there. We all know he's one of the greatest of all time. There is no doubting that. There's no doubting his star power. His booking in AEW is kind of believable, I guess. I don't know. I think he should have put Kingston over in their last feud. And I definitely think he should do it in this one. Is that going to happen? We'll see. Probably not.
We'll see.
Probably not. Especially when they're coming out dressing like the Backstreet Boys. You can just
Which is amazing. I love it. I love it.
It's fun to see, but it's just like, Jericho is still high on his horse.
Oh, yeah.
He's just not going to let his spot go anytime soon.
No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I agree. I think Blood and Guts was overall very entertaining. Very good match. A feud that deserved the payoff as well, which is always nice, because I feel like sometimes just in wrestling in general that we kind of just get thrown into Extreme Rules or Hell in a Cell or something like where it doesn't really feel necessary. Like we don't have that type of hatred. But this is one of those feuds where, and there were so many intermingling storylines that created this bigger one, which I thought was very interesting. Where there was always whatever interaction was going on during the match had something that there was a reason for it. They weren't just fighting to fight, which always makes everything feel a lot better.
Biggest downfall for me, though. Not downfall, sorry. My biggest wish would have been to see Bryan Danielson in there. And he wouldn't have even been in it to begin with. He would have fought Will Ospreay. Well, not Will Ospreay. Zack Sabre Jr. Yeah. But it just would have been amazing to see him in that type of environment.
Yeah.
Would it have been good for his neck? No.
Probably not.
No, probably not. But,
Probably not.
A man can dream.
Yeah. So the one other thing I want to talk about from Blood and Guts, Christian. Oh my God.
My man's wants Jungle Boy's mom. What can I say?
He's taking his health. He's taking his best friend now, Luchasaurus, with the heel turn. I loved the gear. I thought it was badass.
Yep.
Talked about his dead family. And
dead father. And wanted the rest of his family dead.
Yeah. And now, except his mom, who he wanted to...
He wanted them Doonies.
So, Christian is just on... I mean, he's especially now that MJF really hasn't been around nor mentioned. I mean, Christian's heel work.
He's taking that mantle over MJF.
At least until MJF comes back and reclaim it. Like, Christian is on another, and this is something that we've seen before from Christian within TNA and everything.
Seen it from Edge.
Yep, that's a couple months ago. When they're able to really just sound off and go and be the biggest. I mean, they're some of the biggest assholes in wrestling.
Yep.
When they're allowed to be. And I don't think we ever really saw that with Chroma Christian in WWE. We saw it in TNA.
Yeah.
And now in AEW on a huge stage, he's getting to really be just the worst, most despicable person on the planet. And this is not even... I love heels that there's just no way to redeem them. As much as I might be entertained by him or anything, there's no way I could ever cheer for Christian in the way he's talking right now. Unless you're just a terrible person.
I could cheer for him.
He's a terrible person.
I'm not a terrible person. I'm not. Look, man. I have seen Randy Orton make out with the man's wife right in front of his face.
Yeah.
I've seen him kick someone's dad in the head right in front of his face. Seen him kick an 80-year-old man in the head.
Yes.
And we still cheer for him. I mean, come on.
Well, I'm saying in the moment.
Yeah.
In the moment, I ain't.
Yeah. Okay. As of right now, no cheer.
Man, the pop that Jungle Boy's gonna get when he eventually returns and presumably goes over on Christian in this feud is gonna be.
He will go over on Christian and then get smacked on by Luchasaurus.
Yep. I think that's what.
Which that's gonna be. I'm looking forward to that because it's gonna be kind of emotional.
Oh yeah, no,
it'll be emotional. Yeah.
And it was a time I think for them as a tag team. Like I think they pulled the trigger right at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Which
people were kind of getting the fatigue of them. So
right. Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think they pulled the trigger right at the perfect time. So, we'll move away from Blood and Guts. We'll head back to WWE. SmackDown was a show, I guess. We'll get to Money in the Bank at the end when it comes to qualifying and things like that. But the good old-fashioned Battle Royale might have been...
It was pointless.
The most pointless thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the qualifying, which it did like on Raw. They had the Battle Royale, and I thought
that's what was dumb. They mentioned that it was for a spot in the Money in the Bank match.
That's what was confusing about it. And then they do the Fatal 4-Way.
There's a promo later where it's Madcap, Ezekiel, Seth, and Corbin there again arguing, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna have a Fatal 4-Way to decide the last spot." I thought that's what we just did.
Yeah, and then they had the people that were already in Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
It just didn't really. I didn't
sense.
understand the point of it. I didn't like the context of it, nor just like
it was just gonna be for the entertainment aspect of it. They had nothing. It's like they had nothing.
Yeah.
They have injuries. They have Roman out.
Right.
They just needed something. They used Seth and Omos to kind of put in a little laugh in there. And at the end of the day, I think someone's gonna climb up on top of Omos and kind of try and grab the briefcase. I'm already calling it. That's gonna be a spot. That's going to be a spot.
Probable.
And it's probably going to be Seth. I'm going to be honest. It's probably going to be him.
Probable.
Yeah, I can see him doing his little stupid dance on the shoulders of him too. So it's like, yeah.
The one good thing, I guess we'll see if it's good or not. But Maxwell Male Models, what is it? Massey
and Mansois.
Mansois,
yeah.
I think I love it. We're obviously we're just now kind of getting introduced to it, but the idea of it. I love the idea of it. I see the heel hatred. It gives me very much like Tyler Breeze in NXT, like in the OG NXT type of hate where he's just so full of himself and I think that I feel I can see it working. Like I do see the possibility of it. I also see how it could very well get very corny very quickly. So it's gonna be interesting to see kind of develop.
So I couldn't get over Mansois.
Mansois
doing the Zoolander blue steel on the way down.
Yep. And it was amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I like it. I like it right now.
Uh-huh.
I can definitely see this being like a Johnny Nitro and Joey Mercury type of thing. I think they need someone else. I honestly think they're gonna put Dana Brooke in there somewhere. I just have a gut feeling on it. They're gonna add a girl in there, just to kind of yes. Look, they're gonna add someone in there. Yeah. They're definitely. Yeah, no, I don't. They're gonna expand for diversity.
I think T-Bar is definitely another one. I'm literally just gonna rebrand Retribution as a bunch of models.
Yeah,
that's very possible. But I guess I definitely, I'm intrigued. I don't want to say I won't say I think it's good or bad yet. I'm definitely, so far it's so good. But obviously we're just now really kind of getting into it and everything, and we'll see kind of how it develops, because it definitely could get very corny or
who knows. These guys might be the next Shield. We might love him.
We hated the New Day at first. Like everyone thought the New Day was stupid at first, and then they became literally one of
the best tag teams of all time.
So like, I mean, time will tell. Time will tell. But I definitely think I see the direction. I see the vision with it, and I think it could just be one of those stupid gimmicks that gets over. I mean, just like we're seeing with Ezekiel right now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can see it. I definitely see it. That's all I really think about it. Mm-hmm. It's giving me big Derek Zoolander vibes.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is which means I think they're succeeding at what they're trying to do.
I guess Marseille is like Will Ferrell on the second Zoolander when he comes out all buffed up in the suit and whatnot. But
damn. Well, last show of the week was Rampage, which I thought was fun. I thought it was a cool show. Royal Rampage was fun. Brody King.
It had a point.
It had a
point. That was nice. It had a point. Yeah.
It was a nice little, like I said, little twist on just the things that we've been seeing in pro wrestling since the inception of pro wrestling, a battle royale, and now we get a fun new twist to it with the 2 rings. I think it was a cool idea. Brody King definitely wasn't, I think the popular pick going into it by any means.
He wasn't even in mind for me.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that's a bad thing. Yeah, I think that helps show. I mean, he's gonna put on him and Mox are gonna put on a war more than likely. I mean, like there's the depth of talent in AEW is so deep that they're able to kind of do these surprise picks in a way, and that I think is very beneficial. And maybe not necessarily that they have like more depth than WWE, but I think that they're just more willing to put these matches on.
And unlike WWE, I think AEW has a lot of very suitable backups for their injured stars. Mm-hmm. Moxley has always been on the top. He's basically been AEW's Iron Man. Mm-hmm. Like Seth is WWE's. Mm-hmm. That's what John Moxley is for AEW.
He put the company on his back during COVID, definitely. And then left for rehab. Ever since he came back,
still just loved putting on his scrappy dogfight matches. Mm-hmm. I can see why some people are kind of fatigued on Moxley as well, but me personally, I'm gonna continue to be entertained. Yeah,
I'm so cool with Mox
because he's like a more twisted Eddie Kingston in a sense.
In a way, yeah,
definitely. And I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with him in the interim AEW World Championship. I'm excited. I don't think they're gonna take it off him. I'm pretty sure they're gonna wait until Punk comes back.
Yeah. No, 100%. I definitely think this is leading to Mox versus Punk, probably at.
And possibly MJF
at some point. MJF is going to have to... I mean, there's going to become a point where he's going to come and he's going to have to make some type of undeniable claim.
Yep.
Because he's won these feuds before. I mean, like he's been... Like, he won the feud against Punk.
Yep.
And now Punk is champion. So if nobody has a better claim to Punk as a champion than MJF, really.
Yeah. The confusing thing is, though, even inside of AEW, no one knows if the MJF thing is real.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea, and I think that's the best way. I think that's perfect.
Definitely.
I think that's perfect right now.
And my thing is, I want to see him do with what like AJ Styles did when he was in Impact, where he left with the Impact title and went to go defend it in AAA. He defended it in New Japan,
and they have the relationships to do that.
Yeah, they do. That's what I'm saying. Indie wrestlers can ultimately go wherever they want, and that's the freedom that Tony Khan gives his wrestlers. So if he's worked something out with MJF to where he can go work wherever he wants to really sell this storyline, that'd be amazing. But I could also see how it'd be a real thing, like a real hatred between him and Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Because what he said in that promo was true.
Oh yeah.
Every single AEW,
that's when professional wrestling's at its best too. Yeah. When that line between reality and kayfabe is blurred. That's when you're really able to get into some of the best. I mean, the pipe bomb, Awesome 360, like all these different things where you're meshing reality with kayfabe is when, like I said, I think wrestling's at its best.
Definitely, and I can see him coming back at that point to challenge whoever wins out of Punk and Moxley, if Moxley still has the title at that point, and winning.
Yeah,
because technically speaking, by wins, MJF hasn't won a feud. In a very long time.
Right.
Because he lost to Wardlow. He lost the last match to CM Punk because of that interference from Wardlow.
Which I think which can play into, like, the only reason you beat me was because type thing, you know?
Definitely. It'd be nice to finally kind of see him on his own.
Yeah.
In the sense, in the way that Miz is.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say that because I know that was like the main thing Punk said, that he was the AEW.
I hate and understand the comparison at the same time. I think it's sometimes a simple comparison, but I also don't think it's a knock on MJF because Miz
is great.
Yeah,
Miz is great. He's missed very little WWE time with injuries and everything. He's always been reliable. He's always been a great promo artist. He's always been there. He's always been there. He's been a staple.
Right.
And that's what MJF can be wherever he is. Yeah, that's where he can be with entertainment wise. So I definitely see him coming back to an enormous push. And if we see him in WWE, then
that's gonna be crazy.
That'd
be absolutely insane. But one thing before we get into Money in the Bank that I wanted to touch on, how are you kind of feeling right now about the direction of Hangman Page? How they're kind of taking him right now? Because I have some thoughts as well. I want to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah. So at first, when I seen that he just kept losing after his title loss, the first thing that came to my mind was the Becky Lynch storyline that's going on right now, where it's just like her downfall. And I think there's a lot of countering stories between AEW and WWE right now, and I think that's one of them. That's one of them that's kind of very similar.
Kind of like parallel to each other.
So you have like the Christian Cage and Luchasaurus thing, kind of like with Edge and the Judgment Day, and then you have the Injured Stars, which ultimately those stories are gonna because they have to make something work out of that. And now you got the big time Bex's downfall of her just losing and losing and losing, and so she finally got a chance at the Money in the Bank contract, and now you got Hangman Page losing and losing and losing and losing. Lost yesterday, right? Yep. Lost in the Battle Royal to get a championship match against Moxley. I think that's that's where I think they're going with it. Yeah. Ultimately, just to kind of bring him all the way down so they can bring him all the way up at some point in time. Right. Or bring him back up to the mid card. Right. Ultimately.
Yeah. And I think that I fully agree with you. I think there's definitely a lot of similarity there between Becky and Paige's story. And I think that's the way that they should go. Whether it means it's a return to like the Elite, if it's a heel turn, if whatever that ends up being in, I think Hangman Page is best as the underdog, frankly. Yeah. And when you're a champion, it's hard to be an underdog. So it's almost tough. It almost reminds me, obviously very different, but in the idea of like Mysterio is always a fantastic challenger, but not always a great champion. And not that Paige was a bad champion, but just in the idea of like when you become an underdog and you kind of push that character and that's what you label this person as, I almost sometimes struggle to have very long-term reigns with those type of characters. Whereas Moxley, he isn't like a complete dominant, like he's not marketed as that. But he's marketed as that scrappy dog. Yeah, that just yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I always feel the same way about Paige, which is why I think it's a good thing that they're going this route, so I can feel those underdog feelings again, And I think that I definitely agree with you in the idea that they're going with that direction when it comes to absolutely tearing him down, and whether that means he becomes an asshole heel and like turns on the fans, if it's underdog type thing again where he has to work his way back up, if it's just going to mid card, whatever that looks like. I think that there needs to be some very clear mental strain on Paige throughout, which I think that we're slowly but surely, and it's okay to be a slow burn with a story like that. I don't think that's a problem at all.
Definitely, and I think AEW owes him justice. I didn't. He had great matches as champion. I just don't think he was booked right. You mentioned that too. He just wasn't booked right. At the end, I wasn't invested into that storyline whatsoever. I didn't care about his title defenses. I thought they were going to take it off immediately whenever they put him up against Bryan Danielson. Because at that point, Bryan Danielson was hot. He made one of the best subtle heel turns in AEW history so far. And I think that's what kind of put him over for me other than Hangman. So I was rooting for him to win that feud. And he didn't. And then it just kind of more mediocre storytelling for Hangman. And I was just like, if you're going to have him beat these big guys in amazing 4 or 5 star matches,
Yeah, it was never the matches that was a problem.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
It was.
I know. When I watch a Paige match, I'm gonna be entertained. That's not what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
But there was just something.
You're just not invested before that.
There was just something missing from the character. Either it was the character or the feuds. I don't know exactly. I can't really pinpoint it. I can't tell you exactly what it is. But there was always something missing from it where I wasn't just completely invested in his reign. Whereas as soon as Moxley got the title, this interim reign, I'm locked in. Like, you know, I'm ready for it because I know Mox is that guy.
And that goes back to what they've done with Moxley so far.
Mm-hmm.
They've given him great stories,
mm-hmm.
a great character arc.
Mm-hmm.
Even after his return from rehab,
mm-hmm.
they've just kind of still made him as the dangerous, crazy lunatic. Yeah, they need to do that with Hangman.
Yeah,
they need to do that with them, definitely. So hopefully this is building down to something huge.
Right. Yeah, I agree, and I hope. Like I said, because, I mean, he puts on matches. And, he puts on incredible matches and deserves, to be, like, he has the talent to be at that top spot. There's just something missing. There's some type of a switch that needs to be flipped. But I think that's going to cover the reflection part of this. Now it's time to look ahead.
For some predictions.
Money in the Bank is mere hours away. So let's go through this card. I feel like a lot of these matches, honestly, are pretty easy predictions, frankly. But once we get into the ladder matches, I want to hear, kind of what we're thinking and everything. But we'll go through the card. So first off, the Raw Women's Championship, Bianca and Carmella.
If they do another Mela is Money thing here at Money in the Bank and they have her beat Bianca by some prayer of God.
She gets her superpowers at this pay-per-view.
Yes, it's just, I don't know if it's the color green that does it to her. If she wins, I'm riding. I am going... Well, I can't powerbomb Vince through a table for you no more. And it's going to have to be Stephanie. What's Triple H going to do? He has a pacemaker.
Damn.
I have a great chance.
Damn.
That's a joke. I love Triple H. Triple H is one of my goats. I cried at his retirement at WrestleMania. But
that's crazy.
Anyways, Bianca's going to squash Carmella.
Bianca's definitely winning, and then I think it's leading to a feud with the Judgment Day. Hopefully, more as a whole. I hope that we see Rhea Ripley and being a part of Judgment Day through her feuds as well, instead of just being just another person in their male feuds. I think both can get involved in each, and I think it's going to end up leading to SummerSlam.
And if I want to say that was the plan. I think it was just Rhea got injured.
Yeah, Rhea was supposed to face Rhea here, which I was surprised that they didn't save that for SummerSlam already. But I think it's a concussion for Rhea, so it's a matter of kind of race against the clock to see if they can. The story, they didn't really have to have a crazy story because she was already owed a championship match. So as soon as she comes back, she's in there, and it'll be as simple as that.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think Bianca's
gonna win.
Clear winner going into the SummerSlam. No, she might. SummerSlam is when we start asking questions.
Yeah,
but until then,
because that's when you got to bring in surprise returns. Mm-hmm. Bayley could come back during this pay-per-view. That's
exactly who I'm hoping for. This next match, the SmackDown Women's Championship. Ronda versus Natalya. This has been a feud.
Interesting feud.
This has been a feud. I am huge. Women's wrestling is my thing. I love women's wrestling. Ronda Rousey does not do it for me. I think she is terrible on the mic. And I think even Natalya, who is not good on the mic either, has been able to expose her.
Yep.
And I think...
If Natalya is out promoting you, that's
it's an issue, and I don't care about Ronda Rousey anymore. It was fantastic. It was dope. When she first came, it was dope. It's time for Bayley to come back. It's time. I think that someone
now that Sasha's gone, someone has to fill that.
Yeah, I think that hopefully at SummerSlam that gets taken off because it's not happening here.
Yeah.
She's not losing to Natalya. Let's just keep it real. She ain't losing. It's going to SummerSlam.
It's gonna be a grapple fest for 5 minutes. Yep. Then Ronda's gonna catch her in an armbar.
Yep. And I like I said, my hope is that Bayley is the one that comes out, returns, whether it's as the heel character from before or even coming back and kind of being a little mix of both, heel, more tweener, kind of how Ronda is a little bit.
Definitely.
Figuring out wherever she lies on that. Just make sure she has a championship when she does it. That's all. That is all I care about. I could not be less invested in this division, and I am like the champion of women's wrestling. I love women's wrestling, and I just don't care as much as I want to.
Definitely.
But I don't think this is the time to take it off Ronda.
If anyone at WWE is listening, if you bring back Charlotte instead of Bayley.
I feel like that's what's gonna happen.
If you bring back Charlotte instead of Bayley.
Andrade is back in AEW. They're back from their honeymoon.
Please, I'm begging.
I guess that does not do it for me one bit. Does not do it for me. I need it to be Bayley. If it's not Sasha.
If Sasha comes back, that's
Sasha's my goat. So, but anyways, we can just keep moving. Like I said, I think both women's championships are pretty clear cut. Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship, the Usos versus the Street Profits. This one actually for me is a little as the slightest bit up in the air, because I wouldn't hate seeing the bloodlines to start showing cracks going into SummerSlam, where hopefully there is a cash in by somebody, and we start to see kind of the slow downfall of the empire that has been built. And I think that this is a good time to, if that's what they want to do, I think given the titles to the Street Profits here, would be a good time to possibly do it, or have the Usos win and maybe start splitting the Street Profits up, because on SmackDown they mentioned reports of them beefing or not getting along or whatever they said, and that seemed very purposeful to put that in there. And so I'm going to predict the Usos to win, possibly, but maybe not a breakup tonight, but possibly kind of planting the seeds of the Street Profit split.
You took the words right out of my mouth. They're not going to get rid of the bloodline. They're not going to crack it anytime soon. Mm-hmm. That's the only concrete story that they have right now in the entire company. The only one. So they're not good. It's their biggest moneymaker.
Right.
They're not going to get rid of that anytime soon. I definitely think if the Street Profits lose, this goes back to where the reason I said Montez Ford in the John Cena feud. I think that they're going to start breaking him up to start building Montez as that next star. Mm-hmm. Especially with Bianca being so high up on WWE's praises. Mm-hmm. Montez always putting on a spot fest. Mm-hmm. He's there. Yeah.
And I hate that Angelo keeps getting left off in the conversation.
Angelo's amazing.
Angelo's great too, but like he ain't Montez.
Yeah, he doesn't have that charisma. It's the charisma. That's the only thing he has over him. And the 30-foot tall frog splash that he can pull off on a nightly basis.
I mean, Montez is literally the perfect face.
Yeah.
And I want to see him and Carmelo Hayes feud. That's like my ideal feud right now. If I could book one, it'd probably be Montez versus Carmelo Hayes. But
yeah, I definitely think the Usos are going to win, just because I feel like they're going to start that breakup, and they can't touch the bloodline right now. As much as they can't touch Roman, which is very annoying, he should be defending at the big pay-per-views, but I can see why there's no one to kind of put him up against right now. They definitely should have saved Riddle from Money in the Bank, but I can also see why they wanted to put him in the match, especially with Cody out. Everything they need someone to root for in that match, because it's nothing but heels, I believe. Yeah. Other than Bobby Lashley.
It's a lot of heels. Or
Bobby Lashley's not even in the match. Never mind.
No, but yeah. So you're guessing Usos on this one? Okay. So United States. Speaking of Bobby Lashley, United States Championship match. Theory versus Bobby Lashley. This is another one where I think it's very dependent on WWE, like what storyline they want to take. Is like, because if they do end up want to do Theory versus Cena, then they can take the title off him, because you don't need a title for a Cena match by no means. And you can keep Bobby going and start kind of building him back up, and even strengthening the mid cards, which we've kind of seen with the Intercontinental Championship, which has been fun. But at the same time, they could. If Cena isn't on the cards for SummerSlam, which it doesn't
look like he is.
It doesn't seem like it, then I'm going to expect Theory to retain tonight with some type of.
It's going to be by DQ. Yeah, it's going to be by DQ, or
I think this.
I don't see them putting him over Lashley cleanly.
I think this continues into SummerSlam.
Yeah,
which is frustrating.
Definitely,
but
it's only a month. It is only one more month.
Right.
It's 4 shows that we have to deal with.
Right.
Lashley spearing a selfie taking Theory, but. The only way I see it ending any differently is Cena interrupting, and I very much doubt that.
Yeah.
Because that'd be sort of a heel turn for Cena.
I don't expect that to happen in any means.
I don't expect him to be crying on Monday night to the fans, thanking them, and then just
because he didn't care about Theory.
Yeah.
He
didn't acknowledge him.
He completely brushed Theory aside, which is okay. Like I understand like that. I think that was good. But if anything, that should drive Theory crazy. And have him continue to call him out, especially if Cena's not going to be in attendance for the feud. And
if they go that route, it kind of reminds me of her dearly departed Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black feud.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But yeah,
where he wanted Aleister to acknowledge him. Yes, just acknowledge him. And once he did,
it was cool.
Yeah, he was at peace. I can see them very much going that route. Cena has not acknowledged him. He's been respectful to him on Twitter and whatnot. I don't know what his Instagram posts mean. I think that's the point.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see that being the story that they take with that.
Yeah. So we'll continue on with that. So who's your guess? Theory or Lashley?
Oh yeah, well this was a prediction, huh? It's Theory. Theory's gonna retain.
Okay, I'm thinking that too. Okay, Money in the Bank time. We'll start with the women's side of the Money in the Bank. Lacey Evans, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Asuka, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch. Who are you thinking here?
My heart says Liv Morgan. I don't think they're going to give Becky Lynch the win. I don't think they're going to give Asuka the win. I think they want to build that feud till SummerSlam. Only reason I'm iffy on Liv Morgan or Alexa is because I feel like they've been building them to be a tag team in a sense. I can see why they'd give it to Raquel Rodriguez.
That's kind of my sleeper. Yeah. That's the Cinderella.
She's definitely the dark horse in the match. I can see why. Because formidable wise, if they want to like kind of have her tease Ronda, that's the only one I can see very.
And that's a very safe way to take it off Ronda.
Yeah,
as well is through a cash in.
Yeah, definitely. So it might be someone on SmackDown at the end of the day. I don't think Lacey Evans is gonna do it, which I feel bad for her. I liked what they tried to do with her inspirational stories before coming back into the roster. It just she hasn't taken off. Yeah, she just hasn't taken off at the end of the day.
Right.
I can see Rodriguez taking it, but my heart says Liv Morgan just because I love Liv Morgan.
Yeah, definitely the most straightforward choice is Liv.
Yeah,
I think.
But if they want to do that little tag team, especially with the women's tag team division, and Shambles, they need a tag team.
Desperately needing it. Yeah. I pretty much agree with everything you said there. The one idea that I kind of find interesting is if Becky Lynch wins it, and the idea that I have is that what if she wins it and fails to cash in? What would drive her over the edge more than the ultimate opportunity to regain the championship and then failing? And there would be almost this moment of rejoicing. I think it would take a relatively quick cash in across the timeline of the year. I think it would have to be a pretty quick cash in, just so you can continue moving the storyline along. But I think that's really the only way that Becky wins it. I think the simpler way is to have her just go over the edge because she didn't win Money in the Bank. But I do think that is also another way of going about it, is having her win. Finally feel like she's kind of on top of the world again. Becky Lynch is back. The man is back. Big time Bex. And then she fails. And imagine if she fails and Bianca beats her in 10 seconds.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
The same way that she did at SummerSlam.
Yep.
And I think that would...
It comes full circle.
Else that would set her over the edge more. That could eventually even lead to another Bianca-Becky match. Maybe even at WrestleMania again. I wouldn't even be necessarily opposed to that if you really build it that long, and I think that's a really interesting way they could go about it.
That's definitely the only way they could go about it if Becky wins, because we've seen Becky and Ronda too much. No one cares about that anymore.
I just don't think anyone cares about Ronda anymore.
Ronda is Sonya Blade from her Mortal Kombat game to a T. No facial expression when she talks. She talks the same way. I don't know how she lags live. Like, she lags in live action.
You said she had her buffer.
Yeah, she buffers in between her promos. So it's just like, no one cares.
Right.
They need to get it off her. That's why I think it's going to be Rodriguez to take it off her. And it might ultimately lead to Ronda just kind of going ghost on WWE for again, which wouldn't necessarily be bad.
Yeah.
The only thing that sucks about that is there's no Sasha. There's no Naomi, which Naomi wasn't a big time player, but she was still that entertainment. She had that entertainment aspect.
There was times she could be. I think it was always. I mean, she's been champion before, and I think she was fine as a champion. I think she had solid reigns. So I think it became a need based thing that she absolutely could step up into that role.
Yeah, but it was like Naomi, Sasha, Bayley, not there. Hopefully Bayley comes back tonight at some point, but they need Ronda just for the lack of
star power.
Not talent, star power. Mm-hmm. Because they have plenty of Nikita Lyons. Mm-hmm. I can see her coming up at some point. Mm-hmm. But that's just like they have no one on the main roster.
The NFC Women's Division is pretty stacked.
Yeah, it's looking good.
It's really good.
Yeah, so they're not. Yeah.
So final pick. Who, if you think, who do you think?
Raquel Rodriguez.
That's what I'm thinking too.
She's winning.
I think I've convinced myself. I didn't think that going into recording this, but I think
I don't think anyone does. But I don't think anyone
it's like
really.
Otis winning.
As much as I hate to say it, I don't think they care about the match. Yeah. Because they see who the champions are. The only entertaining champion right now in the women's division is Bianca Belair. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, she's amazing. That's the love of my life right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like Montez.
Montez, you did not hear that. You did not hear that. But yeah, I mean, I
think I agree.
I think her winning would be the only interesting thing about this.
Because you don't. The one thing I hate, one of the things I hate about the women's division in WWE is that the only matches that get on pay-per-views are title matches. Where you have a feud like Asuka and Becky that could take up into the next level where you don't need Bianca in that to have that, to justify that match at a pay-per-view. That is a completely justifiable, long-running feud. I mean, like, genuine, like, screwing each other over and over and over. And that doesn't need to be that. So I think you could easily allow them just to continue on their path and have that for SummerSlam as well.
And it's not the women's division in WWE is amazing. Mm-hmm. Ultimately,
the talent,
talent is fantastic. Their storytelling is a lot better than AEW's. Mm-hmm. I'll give them that.
Yeah,
it's good. It's just that the decisions that they make with certain people and certain groups, like the women's tag team. The women's tag team division should be so much more than it is right now.
Which I always thought they should have done a secondary singles belt than doing a tag team just because of the roster size. But it's like they run all the way down the football field but don't cross the goal line.
Yeah, definitely.
Like and there's just always that last little step that they need to take to make it incredible. And like I said, I think a big part of that is there's no feuds outside of
Becky
the
and
belt.
Asuka, or the belt.
Mm-hmm. Like that gets put on pay-per-views.
And even then, when it comes to the belt, we were talking about it. No one cares about Natalya and Ronda Rousey's match.
No.
We know who's going to win.
Right.
No one's invested. No one cares.
Right.
We care about the Bianca Carmella. Mm-hmm. That's because of Bianca.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
But if they're going to save the rest of the division and they truly are set on keeping these tag titles, they have to expand it into NXT.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
They have to. They have no option at this point.
I agree.
There's enough talent there in the women's division that they could bring them up against the main roster.
Right.
And I think the door is open for that now that Vince McMahon isn't in charge, so to say.
Yeah.
Stephanie McMahon's always just been a great advocate for the women. I can definitely see them doing it, but as much as Vince ain't in charge, he's still in charge. He's still there.
Let's keep it up.
Yeah.
Like he's still showing up on Raw and everything. He's in charge.
Definitely.
Like, but yeah. So I think Rodriguez.
Wins.
I think it's a very interesting situation because Liv just seems.
She seems like the obvious choice to win.
And I'll be happy if it's Liv. I have no problem with Liv winning by any means, but I think it's starting to feel they're giving her wins. Like it just feels too.
What's crazy is, I could also see them giving it to Liv, her cashing in, and Rhea coming back to attack Liv at some point. Just because, because Rhea and Liv still have this ongoing thing. It's just that she's injured.
It's just beef,
yeah. They have this ongoing thing. That's the only way I can see Liv winning.
If Rhea wasn't in the title picture, that's another one that could easily be its own match.
Anyways, Rodriguez. Final answer.
So, last match on the card, the men's Money in the Bank. You got Seth Rollins, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Omos, Sami Zayn, Riddle, and Madcap Moss. First thoughts, Kevin Owens should be in this match. That I going into Money in the Bank season, I thought Kevin Owens would be winning Money in the Bank. Frankly, my idea, my thoughts had always been either Seth or Kevin Owens
or Ezekiel.
Ezekiel. I thought Ezekiel was going to qualify last night, and honestly, instead of Madcap Moss, but alas, here we are. I mean, it feels like
this one's kind of tough.
It feels like a 2-man race to me between Seth Rollins and Riddle, and I hope and think it's going to be Seth Rollins because nobody, when it comes to
no one can carry it like him,
and no one when it comes to going against the bloodline, no one has any reputable argument to make that they could be the ones to take down the bloodline besides Seth Rollins, because he's the only one that has not just been totally dominated by Roman Reigns. He was running circles mentally in the storyline around Roman and then wasn't even beat clean. He lost by DQ. He is the one person that has tried and not succeeded, but he didn't really
He didn't lose or win.
Right.
He lost.
He lost, quote unquote, and then just kind of...
Yeah, they just kind of shoved him aside.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre, in a way.
He's also one, and it also makes me think the possibility of him cashing in for a title shot at the European pay-per-view. Like a scheduled cash in.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I mean, we've seen him before. Yeah, like Cena did it. I think that's definitely one.
I just don't want that. I
don't think that they need that.
Drew deserves if he's gonna get a shot, it has to be a shot.
Mm-hmm. And I think they can just do a genuine build to that, because no one's going to be the proper. Because I think the best part about Money in the Bank is the constant fear that you could be cashed in on. And the idea of having a Money in the Bank winner that is going to use that fear. And who else on that list is going to use that fear?
It's going to be Seth.
Besides Seth. Now,
if Madcap Moss
my sleeper, Sami Zayn. With all the work he's done with the Bloodline, if he was to be casted out from the Bloodline, I think that would be a really interesting way to kind of go about that as well, where he's tried. He's wanted to be a part of the Bloodline.
He's been wearing their shirts every match.
Every time. Like he's consistently tried. He's done Bloodline bidding before. He said, I think he said to Heyman it was that if he wins, there's absolutely no way he's ever gonna cash in on Roman. That would be perfect.
I can see
and
it.
Then you go back to, maybe not all the way back to like NXT Sami Zayn, but where he's just this scrappy underdog that's been casted aside and is now on his own.
Definitely.
I either think that, or having that happen, and instead of him being Money in the Bank, have him and Owens tag team to be the ones to dethrone the Usos is another thing.
See, that's where I was leaning towards. Mm-hmm. I think that's why they're saving Kevin Owens. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that's why they're saving Kevin Owens for something big like that. Mm-hmm. I just don't see them putting it on Sammy. I think he's too much. He is a workhorse for WWE, but as of right now, he's taken as kind of the joke.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is almost why it would be
perfect. But so is Madcap Moss. I'm putting them on the same level.
I don't put them on the same level.
Not talent-wise. Talent-wise.
Right.
But just in terms of like how WWE is making you view them right now. Sammy's just going to be like that lapdog for the Bloodline. Mm-hmm. And then when Sammy finally has enough, he's going to break off, go with Kevin Owens. Mm-hmm. Hopefully. Mm-hmm. First, they have to fight Ezekiel and Elias in a tag team match. But Sami Zayn's honestly at the bottom of my list of him the possibility of winning. I love Sami Zayn. Mm-hmm. I wish there was more. He should have at least had some type of individual title by now, a decent run. Mm-hmm. He's not going to win. There's no chance. Him, Madcap, Omos definitely isn't going to win. He's going to be used like the same way the Big Show was used in all his ladder matches.
Every freaking time.
It, like you said, it's a 2-man. It's probably a 3-man race, to be honest.
And Seth, Riddle, and Drew.
Yes, but even then, I feel like they're building towards a Drew and Sheamus tag team, or him joining that faction, because it's just like you can't put Drew immediately back into the title picture,
right? After
this last little feud with the Bloodline. Seth is gonna win. Just get that out of the way. Seth's gonna win it. He's going to play mind games for as long as he can. Mm-hmm. The men, they can't even cash in today. There's no championship.
He ain't even there.
Yeah, he's not there. So he's going to hold on to it, play those mind games that he plays so well. Mm-hmm. He's probably going to win the title. He's probably going to be the one to take it off Roman.
I agree. I think so.
And my idea is that he's going to take it off him at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. In the second Heist of the Century Part 2. Mm-hmm. And that's when Cody's going to come back.
See, here's what I'm thinking. When it comes, hypothetically, if Seth wins, I think having him cash in during SummerSlam, having it be Brock versus Roman, again, he's already been on Twitter kind of complaining about it and whatnot. Yeah. Then you have Cody come back and win the Rumble to face Seth at Mania and have that last match where it's like, listen, you might have took me out, but I never lost to you.
See, I completely forgot about the Royal Rumble.
I think that's where Cody's gonna return. And even if I don't really know if cashing in Money in the Bank means you get both titles. You just get one. I don't really understand how that works.
They really need to solidify the rules.
Yeah, that's saying
when it comes to the men's titles.
Yeah. So, but either way, I think that all roads should lead to Cody versus Seth, with Seth having the title where Cody wins at WrestleMania, and then Roman and presumably The Rock, where you don't need a title.
Yeah.
The head of the family to them should mean more than any WWE championship.
Definitely. That my problem with that. So I think we're agreeing that Rollins.
Rollins is winning.
Where does that leave Riddle?
Feuding with Randy.
So the thing is, Randy's but that's a year from now.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think that's when you can go. You do Judgment Day. You could do. Let's see. I think what other heels are there.
Judgment Day's on main event right now.
Well, they shouldn't be. But
Edge is injured. I'll give him that. The feud kind of got derailed there.
Right. I mean,
I can see him doing something with probably AJ Styles.
That's who I was
pop
thinking.
they got.
The Miz.
Yeah.
I mean, Miz and AJ are working right now, but like going forward, doing something maybe with the Miz. I mean, it seems like Miz and
AJ. Yeah.
Be doing their stuff for SummerSlam.
And that's they're gonna do that, but that's where they leave the outlier of AJ, and that's where I think they're gonna start to build the feud between AJ and Riddle. And it might
they do seem like the two that are kind of just left out of everything, and that's.
And the thing about AJ is he can work as a heel or face, and right now he's neither.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it during the Battle Royal on SmackDown. Where him and Riddle, they both just got the pop, and they said, you know what, let's do it right here in the middle of the ring, and they went ham on each other.
And it's also, I mean, I feel like the story's been kind of overused right now almost, but it's another thing where it's like Miz just continues to call him a disappointment, and he keeps losing, and that frustration can
Miz gonna do what Miz gonna do.
Yep. And that frustration can boil over, especially if it's some type of contenders match, maybe against Riddle.
Yeah.
Loses to Riddle, attacks Riddle after. You know, who knows how they exactly get there. It seems like that storyline is the go-to in wrestling right now. And I think it's just the easiest way to lead to a heel turn. I mean, it's frustration.
And I just think this is where Roman having both titles is very much derailing the men's competition.
Yes.
Because you have Roman, who's very much just SmackDown. He's always only going to be on SmackDown when he does show up.
Right.
Where does that leave the guys on Raw?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have Seth.
That's my biggest issue with it. I don't have a problem with Roman having the Universal Championship only showing up periodically and everything, but when you have both championships, what I understand,
it's kind of like when Brock had it.
Yeah, it makes it. What are the stakes?
Yeah.
For everyone else.
And the thing is, at least when Brock had the unified title, you had Roman, who was always consistently bringing it up every week. I'm gonna get back to Brock. I'm gonna get back to Brock. There's no direction for Roman. Right now, like for who's gonna get to Roman.
Right.
Like, we bring up the Seth Rollins thing. His ultimate direction is that he's going to get back to Rhodes.
Right.
For Roman, you got Brock. Same thing that's been going on for 5 years. And that's it. And he's going to beat Brock.
Right.
He's ultimately going to beat Brock. Unless they take a title off him. Right. Not going to happen. But it's derailing the men's competition because Riddle and AJ fighting for that spot for a title match is great.
Right.
Riddle, as of right now, cannot compete for a title as long as Roman is champion because of their last match.
Which is a stupid stipulation.
Yes.
Now you've put yourself into a corner.
If you're WWE, you have no other competitors that make sense.
Put yourself into a corner at this point.
You can bring back AJ Styles and bring back their feud from 2016,
which I think
and it'll work. It'll work, but that also again still leaves Riddle out in the dark until Randy comes back, and they're not gonna want that. They're just gonna keep having him in the kind of like Drew McIntyre, having him in the mid card until they finally have someone who can come up against him.
Right.
Which I don't want that. Riddle deserves so much more. And I almost want to say if Cena or Bobby doesn't do it, to take off the title off of Theory, have him kind of going back and forth for the U.S. title or even the IC title, but. Yeah, I just think that those two are people that need to be used right now with all the injuries, all the lack of star power as well with them, and just reliability of an entertaining storytelling with the match quality there.
Right.
AJ, I think he deserves a title. He's been due for another title shot for the last 2-3 years.
Right.
Because he is ultimately the best in-ring professional wrestler in the world today.
Right.
Oh, there is no doubt about it in my mind.
That's pretty bold.
Not really.
It's not. I would say bold, but there's definitely some arguments you can make.
In the ring.
Okay.
On the mic, no. There's no way. But he is that guy that you can, if you tell him go out there, put on a 5-star match, he's gonna do it with a rag doll, and that's always how AJ's been. He can make a story with anyone in that ring. To me, he's always been better than Kenny Omega in the ring. He hasn't been as entertaining in a sense, but he's always been better in the ring than Omega, Danielson, and even Moxley or Rollins. Just in terms of just how he moves around that ring. His spots, they're all perfectly timed. He's the perfect combination of just technicality, agility, and kind of just spot power. Yeah, aerial ability. Yeah. And he can work with anybody. He can take a bump from anywhere in the ring. That's why I say he's the best in the ring. And that's why he's always reliable with every superstar you put him in there against. He made a great match out of him and Omos. And no one. Bobby Lashley couldn't even do that.
You ain't wrong. Well, hopefully we start kind of seeing some more.
There needs to be some development.
hopefully we see kind of the direction that everything's going. So we both think Seth's winning.
Yep.
The men's, we both think Rodriguez is winning the women's. All the titles staying put tonight. But we'll have to wait and see until Money in the Bank, which is just mere hours away. So make sure you click subscribe here on YouTube. And stay tuned for all the content coming up. Be sure to tune in to our playback on Monday for Monday Night Raw. Follow our Twitter, and we will see you soon.
Bye, y'all.